Good morning. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. I'm going to keep it nice and mellow this morning here. Gorgeous.
You
Michigan.
You got your radio voice on today.
I got the radio voice. Here's Harry Glance to the right.
What are you, Alan Allman?
You know what?
Talk? I mean, what do we got going?
Me and my sisters listen to Alan Allman every night.
I know.
WNSC.
I'll let the Starbucks kick in. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show in our 26th year. We're going to take your calls all morning long. That over there is Becky Alley, always coming in hot. It wouldn't be a great Saturday morning, Becky, unless you text me that you are flying.
Coming in hot, and it's going to be hot out today. I might get the car out. You know, it is going to be a beautiful day in Michigan.
Are we going to be fooled?
You know, I expect
Are we going to be fooled in March by this weather that we're having today and tomorrow?
I mean, you're not a real Michigan person unless you know that snow's coming in April.
You do
probably
know that.
May.
Let me bring these guys into the mix here. Cash for Homes, Kevin McLellan. Hey, Kev.
Hey, Harvey, how you been?
My favorite flipper, maybe for sure all in Michigan. I don't know, maybe on the Midwest. Definitely unbelievable stuff. We'll always talk about house flipping today and how to buy them and going over all the numbers. Tony taught you everything. There's Tony Raffin, Remax first. Tony always takes credit for teaching everything. Tony, associate broker. What's going on, Tony?
I'm a terrible teacher, but guess what? He's the best student I ever had.
He really is.
I made him a multimillionaire.
You know what we talk about, though? We talk about house flipping. Here's the thing, guys, and I want you to go ahead and expand on this. Everybody out there thinks they can do it. They do, because they hear the stories. They watch the TV shows, which, by the way, aren't real, but that's just my opinion. And they think that they could just go buy these houses for real cheap, put a little bit into it and flip it and make millions of dollars. I need you to tell everybody out there, you know, I want everybody to be successful, but sometimes you should just stick with what you know. Tell us about what you do and how you do it and why it's just not for everybody.
Yeah, well, like anything, a lot of investors and flippers will tell you, you make the money when you buy the home, okay? If you don't buy it right, you're screwed from the beginning, okay? And on my Facebook page, Cash for Homes Kevin, everybody can, add me and I'll follow you. You can follow me and I'll add you. I post videos about the three numbers you need to know, your acquisition price, your after repair value, and your renovation cost. And those three numbers, once you know those three numbers, I go through a formula to the 70% rule on how to go now and figure out what you should acquire that property for. But you need to know what you're doing. You can't just buy a house and hope to make it through it and make money. I mean, you got to get yourself with a good realtor that has access to the MLS that can pull comparable sales and comps for you. You need to have some guys in the trades, or yourself has to have some background in that to be able to know what your renovation cost is. And then it's when you acquire the property. If you buy that property right, you have a lot of different exit strategies and off ramps with that property, but you have to buy it right and be aggressive with your number when you buy that property.
So it's all in the numbers. You need to tell people how many transactions you pass on before you actually buy them.
Yeah, right? Harry, that's a great question. So I always say that I got to look at 10 properties, literally walk, meet the people, spend hours. I have to look at about 10 properties to acquire one that makes sense because the number has to make sense for the seller, has to make sense for me as the buyer. If we can figure out what that number is, it's a win-win for both parties.
Yeah, I love that. The patience is the reward, Becky. It's kind of like playing cards. Remember when poker was really big on TV?
Yes.
And then it blew up, and then you see people on TV going all in. Every hand, they're all in, they're all in. No, the real smart poker players, in this instance, the real smart home flippers or real estate acquirers, they will go ahead and they will look at, you heard Kevin say, they'll look at 100 properties and maybe buy 10.
So think about that. That's 10 no's to get to one yes.
Yeah,
the yes has to make sense. You can't rush it. Real estate is a long game.
Yeah. I mean, you have to. It's no different than a buyer, right? That's working with a realtor trying to find a home. It's the power of no. You have to be able to walk away. You have to be able to stay disciplined. Tony taught me that a long time ago as a realtor. One of the things that I tell everybody is find yourself, if you're an investor, a flipper, or investing in any capacity, find yourself a really good realtor or realtors to work with. They're your best advocate. They have the relationships with the title company. They have the relationships with the lenders like Capital Mortgage Funding. And everybody, you need that full machine put together.
That's key stuff because you got to know who owns the property so you don't get into some horrible situations. We're going to talk about some of that bad things that are out there. Tony, so important that you know what you're really buying. That's where the real estate agent really comes to play. Again, we're talking flip and we're talking about investing in real estate.
There's different type of flips. There's your investor flip, and then there's your owner-occupant flip. Just had one literally last night. So the numbers are not good enough for an investor, but they're perfect for somebody that's going to live in the house for 5 to 6 years. You're going to still have equity. You still do what you need to do, but you've got time on your side. I just started Substack, and I wrote a 20 episode thing all about it's the foreclosure playbook is basically what it's called. And it's pretty much exactly what Kevin said. You got to know how to say no. You got to know how to scale. This isn't for the weak. It isn't for the faint. And you make your money on the buy. You don't make your money on the end because you're always going to go over budget.
Right.
It happens every single time. Anybody who knows what they're doing, Kevin doesn't hire an inspector. He knows it already.
Right. He goes in and
Right.
he looks at it. He knows what he's looking at before he buys the house. He's got a checklist.
What happens when you find that rotted wall with the rotted header? Like when I had at my office, we thought we had, we're just going to knock this. Oh, and then we found out there was a concrete header in the wall. And it wasn't, it was held up by literally 1/8 of an inch on each side and drywall. This thing could have fell and killed somebody for the 30 years that the building was there. Then all of a sudden, okay, what do you got to do? Well, I need a 18-foot triple laminated beam. And, all of a sudden you're throwing an extra $1,000 into the mix. And thousands, it's almost like, that other word, boat, bail out another 1,000.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with foreclosure,
Bring out another 1,000,
but there's not that acronym. But you're always throwing extra money at something.
But if the people listening out there, they want to do this and they want to flip a house and everything, I think, Kevin, the best advice you could give people is that, and we always say, if it works at the high, it'll work at the low. Meaning that, Kevin, you're going to go in and you have a budget when you look at a property on how much you're going to put in, right? The maximum amount I'm going to invest in this house is this.
Yeah.
And if you feel that it's going to go over that, you just don't do it. Now, if it comes under, it always works when it comes under.
Right. Rarely does it
Rarely
happen.
does it ever come
Yeah.
under. But when you walk in, your thought process is you have a mental checklist that you go over 1, 2, 3, and you say to yourself, either I'm in or I'm out.
Well, it's funny, Harry, that you just said that because my next video this week is going to be on my grading system of how I grade a flip on A, B, and C grade, with A being fairly carpet and paint, and C needs everything, roof, concrete, all the big ticket items,
studs.
and a full
Okay,
renovation
yeah.
down to the studs. And so that video is going to be coming out this week. And I just do about a 5-minute walkthrough. Within 5 minutes, I can slot it in one of those 3 grading systems.
Yeah.
And I know within a couple dollars of a square foot where I'm going to be on my renovation.
But you have
cost.
to do that. The pros know that. In any business situation, you have to know what your tolerance level is, what your high, what your max is, or else you're not going to make any money. And we always say, Becky, Harvey, and I, John Kolb, Lisa, they've heard me say it for years. Sometimes the best deals you do are the ones you never do.
Yes,
Without
amen to that.
question.
We got to take the emotion out of it, and the difference between like you have been doing it so long, and you're so meticulous about the formulas that you follow. There is no emotion; it's a business decision. But someone that is trying to throw their hat in the ring of being a first-time investor, can you give kind of talk on that emotion that's still there, right? It's like everyone's trying to hit a home run, right off the gate.
Wow.
Like, oh, I'm gonna make $100,000 on this property, and that's not real. Same with and then our buyers, like Tony was talking about. When they're owning the property, there's automatic emotion attached to that. But I want to stay on the investor side of it because there are a lot of people a lot of clients are coming in. They're wanting to build this real estate portfolio. They want to acquire 5 properties in 10 years, we'll say, or even shorter than that. How do they kind of step into that without that mindset of I got to hit it hard the first time?
Yeah, well, you hit a couple of good things there. Number one was hitting the home run. I can't tell you how many people I talk to, and they're like, yeah, I want to flip a house, and I got to make $100K, though. 100K.
100K.
I always hear 100K.
It's 100K.
I don't know why
Yeah.
that's the number, but everybody wants to make 100K. I'm like, you know how many times I've done that? I can count. I've flipped over 250 houses. I can count on my 2 hands how many times.
How about singles and doubles?
There you
Yeah.
go.
How
I got
much is
that.
it, singles and doubles?
I got that written down right here.
Of course you do.
Singles,
That's what we
doubles.
do.
These guys.
Just
That's
hit
what
singles
drives
and
runs
doubles.
in.
Go ahead. Yeah, you could say what you were going to say. Go ahead.
No,
This guy, what?
I
Go
just
ahead.
have it written down. Singles
Right.
and doubles.
Singles and doubles.
If you're not willing to get into anything, I don't care if it's real estate investing, any
Anything.
other business you want to start. If you're just a home run hitter, you're going to strike out a lot of times. If you're willing to take the singles and doubles and triples, the home runs, the grand slams come.
They will just get on base.
But
That's it.
stay disciplined and throw everything in the hopper and see what comes out at the end of the year, and try to do it at scale. Like Becky said about acquiring rental properties and building a portfolio. Just have a plan. Just have a plan to slowly scale, and just be disciplined like we talk about. Be willing to walk away in the emotion, right? Like for me now, after this many flips and investment properties, unfortunately, I'm just very unemotional.
Yeah.
And
Just like whatever.
and it's another cog in the machine in a sense, right? I
Yeah.
mean, luckily and it's great that it's just like, okay, here we go. I know I bought at this price. I know I'm gonna make. I know my team of guys, we can get through this, and then pretty much it's not a question of now can I get through the investment and through the flip and through the renovation. It's just what surprises are we going to find along the way, and how do we deal with
I
it?
want to throw this out there real quick. If you have like a nasty house on your block, okay, it's bringing your property value down. I got a great idea. Look up Kevin, Cash for Homes Kevin. He'll come, he'll give you a phone call, talk to him, give him a phone call, give him an address, because he takes those nasty homes that are bringing down your neighborhood. They're eyesores. The neighbors don't like you. And again, for different reasons.
We don't like you.
They don't like
But
them.
you'll also buy regular properties. Maybe it's an estate situation. Maybe you
Yeah.
have 3 or 4 siblings that mom and dad passed away.
Yeah.
They want to go ahead and sell the house, so they'll call you.
Yeah, 100%, Harry. It's not that I just buy ugly houses.
Right.
I'll buy nice houses. It just comes down to the numbers. Comes down to the situation. Again, estates. Somebody has an opportunity for work to move out of state, and they just got to be out of town in 2 weeks. They don't have time to put it on the market. Call me 586-855-4041. I'll come out and make you an all cash offer. But that's a small percentage. A lot of them are going to go on the market, right? And that's why I work with so many realtors. Okay, we're not competition. We work together. The majority of deals are going to get put on the MLS in the open market, and I tell people that it's those few percent where the situation is right. The need is not so much maximizing every dollar. The need is we need to be out of here in 10 days.
And you'll get the call.
And yeah, exactly.
Tony, our buyers out there are first-time home buyers. Again, a lot of them have a lot of debt, not a lot of money to work with. They are looking for a moving condition house. So
They don't have the money to do the repairs.
They just don't.
You're getting 3.5% down FHA, which I still feel FHA and VA are being penalized because of the people with the cash and conventional mortgages. Because as a realtor, do you want a VA loan or do you want a FHA loan compared to a 20 or 30% down conventional loan? And then you get the phone call from the other realtor or from the buyer that looks at you and says, "What do you have against veterans?" Nothing. My son's a retired Marine. I have nothing against that. And he's in the mortgage business. It's like, I have nothing against that. But when you take a property that we're exceeding the limits of appraisals that have been for the last, I'd say, 3 years. I mean,
4 to 5, even 4 to
3 to
5.
5.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
We're coming up with numbers that are stupid, and they're happening, and they're growing. And then you've got a VA appraisal that it didn't hit, and they don't have the shortage, and that's the problem. I think they're being discriminated against without saying discrimination.
Yeah, coming up with 10 or 15,000 extra is one thing. Coming up with 25, 30,000 is
Right.
another thing. All right, we're up against our first break here. You've got the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. We take your calls, 248-539-9797. We'll be right back. Alrighty, welcome back to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. We take your calls, 248-539-9797. We got a caller calling in right now, Christopher from Fowlerville. Hey, go ahead, Chris. What's your question?
Hey there. Just wanted to call in. I've got an interesting situation I find myself in. I'm $150,000 earned equity for a property that we purchased in 2021. I've got a sub 3% interest rate, and I can't seem to unhandcuff myself from it, but I really want to weaponize that earned equity. Any suggestions? 1,000%.
I like the idea. Are you looking to buy other properties? What's your end game?
We are. So this is our primary residence right now, and you know, the wife and I we've got one son already, and looking to expand the family, get a little bit more room. Just not quite sure on the way to do that. I know that interest rates are dropping, so it's getting a little bit more, of a juicy opportunity. Just not sure where we want to end up. I know that just want to mortgage rates that's swallowable. I just don't want to be handcuffed to it.
For sure.
Okay, so your hesitation is, what I'm hearing you say is like you don't want to let go of the property because of your current interest rate. Is that kind of what your main hindrance is?
It is. I don't want to, double my mortgage payment, strictly out of an interest rate. Right now, my interest rate right now is 2.5%. So even if we got to 5, I'm losing a fair amount of buying power. Just because, based off the interest rate. I know we'll likely never see those again.
Okay. So get that out of your head immediately, because we're never going to see that again. That was an artificially deflated moment in time that brought the rates down. But, congratulations, right? Because you're one of the people that did that and were able to, capitalize on when the market was at the lowest. But, to keep yourself handcuffed to this equity, right? It's like, I call it the golden equity handcuffs that are keeping you from moving on to the next part of your life over something that you're never going to get again. Are you thinking that maybe you could even retain that current property? Are you looking at maybe even that, like where you retain that, you could turn that into a rental, take out some of that equity and then take the rest of it. And then you can take out some of the equity and then put it towards the next house, because having a rate in the low 6s, high 5s, that's strong. And that's actually more of a realistic realistic interest rate that we're going to be staying in for quite some time. So as your family is growing, there's other ways that we can tap into that equity, and you can always keep that property and you can make money off that in the future. Like, what are your thoughts around all that?
I guess I never thought about the opportunity of a rental. There are quite a few rentals within the subdivision we live in. They're all new build houses. So relatively, set up for what are, people who are looking currently, like you were talking about previously, where they need a move-in ready home. I know that a lot of people are not trying to, continue to rent, but I never thought about that.
Yeah. What's the value of your existing home?
Value of the existing home is $375,000.
And your mortgage on it is what?
Mortgage on it was $232,410 was the purchase price. We mortgaged $208,000. We only owe $178,000.
Yeah, you could do that. If you're planning on staying in the house, there's two things. You're planning on moving, like Becky said. You're going to move anyways. You're going to get that, but you could rent the property. You could get a standalone home equity loan. All right, and that's a variable rate. There's a fixed rate component to it too, but it just all depends on what your goals and objectives are. You can go ahead and you can access that money without touching your first if it's something that you want to do. So
didn't even know that was a possibility.
Yeah.
Yep. You need a second lien. I like what Harry went with it. Home equity line of credit, either a fixed rate or an adjustable rate. You use that money to purchase your next home and get those great real estate agents involved quickly. Find out what the home would rent for. What your current home is going to rent for, to see what the numbers look like.
Yeah, one of the biggest mistakes I did in my entire real estate and mortgage career is not keep my first house that I bought when I got married in Birmingham. And I kept that house, and I've had it, I've been in my house now for 34 years. And I kept that house. I should have kept that house. So I will tell you, if you're thinking about it, and I know Becky said if she would have started her real estate career, when Becky was starting in the mortgage business, Becky, tell that story. That's a wonderful story.
I was 21. I didn't know anything about anything, and you get this opportunity, and I bought my first house in 2006, right? So you do the right thing at the wrong time, right? Because everyone knows in the national history. The housing market collapsed the next year, right? So I bought high, and then here I am holding onto this property. But if I could go back and do it again, I would have bought the duplex. I would have put them in on contribution and did all the things. But now that's like out here in the open, and that's what everyone is trying to do. People are actively, constantly looking for multifamily properties, and they're almost hard to come by. A 3-unit, a 4-unit, even duplexes, they get snatched up so fast because, you know, the generation coming up behind us, like, we're like, do this. Like, this is like house hacking. This is you being able to acquire the property, live in it for the year, you hit your, you know, like that time frame, and then you move on. You move on, and you're doing it naturally. Yes.
Yeah, and you keep it. So I think that's one of the biggest mistakes. If you can afford to do it, real estate is a long-term play.
Yeah, if I could jump in on two things
Yes.
for people to think about. Number one, the old saying, the best time to buy real estate was yesterday. The next best time is today.
Yes.
The other thing, people mentally on rates.
Yeah.
If rates are
I was about to get into that,
yeah,
yeah.
because you mentioned it. If rates are at 6 now and people say, they could go down or they might go up. Let's say they stay at 6 for the next 30 years. Well, guess what? Congratulations. You should have got into it today. If they go down, you refinance.
Correct.
So if you find a property that you're in love with and you want to move, you have one life, you have one time to live. I mean, how long are you going to wait for a rate to drop?
You can't
If
wait.
it drops, hopefully then you can just refinance.
Yes, and that's where, like, Chris hopped off before I got to go back to that point of the focus right now is locking in the price point of the home. We've been in an appreciating market since 2018, and, you know, it's going to be like that same house, even at a 5% appreciation. Okay, we're not going to, maybe 3, whatever it is, but let's just say it's 5. That $200,000 house is now 210. You're going to be losing money if you are frozen in fear over these interest rates, because if you lock in that price point of the home, you can always slide down with the interest rates. The people that bought more houses last year are now refinancing, because this time last year rates were in the 7s. I think we're in October of last year, 24, right? But anyway, they were in the 7s. They're a full % lower than they were.
And say it with us. All indications of home prices are going up.
And what happens when your interest rates drop? Demand goes up.
Yes.
When demand goes up, the price of sitting at the table costs more.
That's right.
End of story.
So, we see that. We see that all the time, and you guys could speak to this. You're on the street every day. We see it every day as well. Prices of homes are not going down.
No, and I think that call from Chris was a textbook conversation of what the average consumer thinks. If you were able to get in a lower interest rate, they got these golden equity of handcuffs. They're afraid to like unlock them because, I don't want to buy a house at 6%, 6.5%. But if this property no longer suits your needs, what are we doing?
Right.
You know, it doesn't make sense. But if you have, and there's a million different avenues that Chris thought we're going to call him. I'm excited for that one.
All right,
Because it's a
we're
million
here in
different things you can
Michigan,
do.
of course, and the weather's getting crazy. It's that springtime where it could be 30 degrees one day, and now it's 65, and we had some horrible storms. A little prayers out to our folks over at Union City, Michigan, on the west side of the state near Grand Rapids. They took a beating on a tornado yesterday. Always the thoughts and prayers going out to them, our own Michiganders. We want to make sure that this time of year that you do things, keep your head up, but also preparing the house, Kevin. So often the water becomes an issue, and this is the time to buy. If you're going to do an inspection, really nice after a 1 or 2 inch rainstorm. Kev, you also own Calculus Foundation Repair. So many issues because in Michigan, the water will find the way into that basement, crawl space, whatever. Even slabs, we see issues with slabs. Tell us a little about a couple of the things that you always recognize.
Hold on. What's the 2 rules about basements in Michigan?
Well, there's basements that leak and basements that will leak.
There you go.
That's such an old saying. I've heard enough people say it. It's not very earth-shattering. I hate even saying it, but you made me say it.
Yeah, it's going to
Buy a
happen.
house on a
you made
hill.
me
Buy a
say
house on a hill.
Yeah, exactly. But
gonna
I
happen.
mean, especially with all this rain. I mean, you know, it's been a weird weather pattern the last year, so we haven't gotten a lot of rain, but the rains that we have had are like 2, 3, 4 inches at a time. And it overloads the sewer systems, it overloads the drain tiles, and we've had a lot of basements that leak. So, yeah, if anybody needs any waterproofing or foundation repair, call Calculus Foundation Repair and Waterproofing, 586-400-8400 or calculusfoundation.com. We have guys actually in the office today to take calls, and we'll get you a free estimate, financing options, homeowners, investors, realtors. We work with everybody.
Is there a typical thing that you see in a basement leak? Or, I mean, I know it's a lot of things. I'm just trying to make it a little bit more simple for people. I mean, is it a grading thing? Is it a crack in the vines? What is it? Is it all that?
Yeah, it's a great question, Harry. It's, once the water gets inside and you have a leak, the grading and the downspouts and the gutters, I think it's kind of a bit of a pie in the sky wish that that's going to fix it.
That's
right?
the only thing. That's
like
the
if
only, it's
water's
not the only
infiltrating
problem.
the foundation. But to answer your question, I mean, the two main foundations we have here in terms of structure in Southeast Michigan is your cinder block basement wall or your poured wall, right? And those two types have different things. The pressure, the clay soils, the static pressure, they affect them differently, and then you see different things. And that's where we're experts. We have 3 foundation specialists that will come out, and it's best just to analyze it on site. The poured walls, you get a lot of the hairline cracks, the vertical cracks. Sometimes you get horizontal at a 45, and now you might need a helical pier and your footing sinking. The cinder block walls are known for bowing and buckling right in the middle because of the static pressure, and they leak at the bottom where they meet the basement floor. So
they're not always run away, though, Kev, are they? I mean, you got to run away from some of these houses.
Yeah, but it's
the
like
experts to
Harvey's
tell
saying,
you.
it's not always a death sentence, is it?
just comes down to the numbers,
Yeah.
right? Get an estimate. If it's $30,000 or $20,000, factor that again into your renovation costs, right? And work your numbers backwards, and it spits out your acquisition price of what I need to acquire this property for, given this foundation repair. So just because there's a foundation repair as an investor doesn't mean you run away from it, but you better as hell factor that into your renovation costs.
Why do you think he bought a foundation company?
That's right.
I mean,
It's not that hard to figure, right?
I have watched him over the years buy houses with the worst foundations. What do? Jack it up, put a new foundation in it. It's brand new. I mean, it's literally, like he said, as long as the money's there to cover the repairs are sometimes better than the actual original foundation that was there. And one of the
that's
big
a good
things,
point, yeah.
Yeah, one of the big things is the clay. Because
Yeah.
people back then, as cheap as possible, they would backfill just with the dirt and the clay. And our area's got a lot of clay around them.
Yeah. Yep.
So if you backfill with sand like you're supposed to, you don't have that stuff crushing with the
Pea
pressure.
stone.
All righty, 828. If you're just joining us, the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. If you're buying a house, turn up the radio. We'll take all your calls. 248-539-9797. We're talking about everything: mortgage rates, how to purchase your first home, your second home, your third home. You want to become an investor? Turn it up. All right, welcome back to the show. We're talking about all the great areas across Southeast Michigan. You guys probably live in one. Whether you're looking for a walkable city, maybe get out there in the rural areas a little bit. You got a mortgage that fits every need, that's for sure. Keep it here on the Hardcore Mortgage Show as we give you some great information. Tony Raffin joins us from RE/MAX First. Kevin McLellan, Cash for Homes Kevin, one of the best, in my opinion, house flippers. What's really cool is if you Facebook, Kevin, if you go ahead and invite him on your Facebook, friend him or whatever they call that, he'll teach you a lot of things. And I love, Kev, when I go to your videos, you're outside of a house you bought that was that hoarder, just the recent one. I mean, you've been doing this for years, and you've got the hazmat suit on.
Yeah.
And then the next couple days, I see you, it's gutted.
Yeah.
It's down to the stud. So you're opening that house up and everything. And I don't want to get into numbers, but obviously the most important thing you said about house flipping or investing or even buying your own house is really knowing the numbers and having an agent who can discuss all that with you. It's just key. Having that professional team, because when you buy a house, what's going to happen? Taxes are going to go up.
Right.
Repairs are going to happen.
Right, yeah. Even with a seller, I just walk them through those numbers, right? When I meet somebody that's interested in selling to a cash buyer, I just walk them through the numbers. Hey, here's what I think it's worth after I fix it up. Here's what I think I'm going to put into it. Here's what I'd like to make and closing costs and all that. And it spits out the number at the end. How does this number sound to you? And then we have a little bit of a back and forth and a conversation. And if we can find middle ground, then there's a deal to be had. If not, a lot of the times I'll refer them to a realtor that I know, and say, hey, I think probably if you want to get that number, we're not close. You got to go to the market,
See, but I appreciate that because that is not something that you hear very often where you are just straight up transparent about this is this is the price, this is what I need, this is where I'm at, this is what you want, and then you're like I'm only willing to offer you this. And most people are, I'm assuming they don't have that sit down back and forth conversation. You're like, I want to make this too.
Yeah.
And the fact that you hit them with that and it's almost this back and forth dialogue that is the transparency is so high level that it's almost like it's why would you not do it?
Right. That's why he's walking away from 90%
Correct.
of these transactions. The numbers have to make sense. And same thing when you're in the retail, I call it the real estate world, that when you sit down with a seller, and if a seller, Tony's being unreasonable with you, and you're walking them through everything, sometimes you just have to tell them the truth, right? You're not going to get this. Or you could get it. Let's see what we can get.
We'll get it next. After the first guy fails.
Yeah, go ahead. Take us through that conversation because sometimes people are unrealistic, right?
Well, I give it an example. I'm not going to drop names, but a house in Troy. The house should have been listed for about $717, maybe $705, somewhere in that area. And the guy's like, good, let's list it for $779. And I'm like, you're out of your freaking mind. And he doesn't understand. So it's like, and if he wasn't a close friend, I wouldn't have done, but I did it. So after you're on the market for a month and you got showings and everyone's like, you're way overpriced. And then you get offers at $650, $675. They're looking at you like, dude, this got nothing to do with social media. This got nothing to do with my blast. The house is showing. You're dated. This is the issue.
Right.
And then we go 4 months later. Now we're down to $749, and then he's starting to get upset. We just got to lower it to $699. It's like, oh my gosh,
I should have done that in the first place.
Yeah,
You would have been
and then
out of
guess
here
what?
4 months ago.
We get a $695 offer. He jumps at it. And an hour later, after it's signed, a $715 offer comes to the table, and you can't take it.
Right.
And that's the problem with
real estate.
emotions, that they don't listen to us. We tell them what's going on. We know the facts. We know what's going on. There's no emotion in it for us. It's a numbers game, plain and simple. How are you going to make it work?
You don't go into a listing appointment and say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and listen at this and not want to be successful. Right?
There's a lot of
wanna go
agents
and be
that do
successful.
that, though, just to get the listing, and then they're hoping that their negotiation skills will get them to lower the property. And there's a lot, and we know who they are.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we know who they are, and they'll go in and it's $100,000 over. And well, wait a second, why did you sell it for $125,000 less than that you listed it for? It's because they use that bait and switch. And if you're not going to be honest with somebody, just walk away.
I think we're too old for that, right?
Well, plus,
I am.
you're hiring.
I mean, we're too old for that. And we've been around a long time. And Becky, like I said, you just want to be honest up front. And we have a whole thing on relationships and and trust. One thing AI that cannot replace in a relationship is the trust factor. We always say that. You've got to be able to trust who you're working with in any situation. AI can't replace that. So you can go in, type in anything you want. It's the relationship you have with your agent right?
Yeah.
In the transaction, your lender, the home improvement person you're doing business with, it's about that relationship. AI cannot replace
They
that.
can't. But I always say there's 3 rules, and my job is 3 jobs: educate, entertain, and execute. So I can't make your decision, but I can educate you so you can make a good one. I'm going to make you laugh a little bit, okay? But at the bottom line, I need to get a signature, and I need to get it executed and close this deal. So those are my 3 jobs. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, this is Detroit, Becky, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is Detroit, and we talk hardcore. The name of the show is Hardcore Real Estate, Mortgage, and Business. This is just the way we talk. There's no glitz. There's no glamour. It's not sexy.
No.
We pride ourselves on being really upfront and really honest. And when we work with people like you guys, and you can feel the vibe in here, the vibe is this is just honest, truth-based, intelligent education, right? That's what we do.
I think people appreciate the honesty
I believe
and the
that.
straightforwardness, because I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Tony, I want to give out some good advice
Trust compounds, period.
Yeah.
Right, and you don't build trust in the during the transaction. It's the in between.
Yeah.
And the ones, even in a personal relationship, and anyone that understands that, that's when you're going to, and real estate specifically, that's the reason why you're around 5 years after the fact, because it's a compounding thing and you're not a transactional person, right? And having those tough conversations. And the reality is that there's a reason why they're hiring the professional. They didn't hire you to be like, tell me what you want to list it for. I can ask you, say, how did you arrive to that point? And I'm going to say, okay, these are all the reasons why we're not going to do that, because I'm here to price your house to sell and draw a straight line. And there's a reason why you're hiring.
When they sit on the market,
Yeah.
it doesn't look good. It's like a stigma. It's
Yeah.
like a,
what's wrong with
polluted,
this house?
It's polluted. Stay away or whatever. And even though there's nothing wrong, it's just you have a seller with something stuck in their head. But if you price it right, I think Century 21 years ago had a
You're
little.
a Remax guy. Don't drop their name. What are you
I
doing?
had to say
Okay.
it.
All right,
But
fair
that's
enough.
the only thing I ever took from Century 21. If you're priced 15% over market value, you have a 30% chance of selling the house. If you're priced 10% over market value, you have a 50% chance. If you're priced 5% over market value, you got a 70% chance. But if you're priced at market value, you're 100% chance you're going to sell that house. And in today's market, chances are you're going to sell it for more than you listed for. And people don't pay attention to statistics and what's selling out there. Go look at an agent, see what his list to sale ratio is, and then you'll see this guy knows what he's talking about, not we're shooting for the moon and coming in lower.
I'm glad you went there because I want to talk about that. There's a lot of new agents in the business. And again, who you're walking in that front door with is so important. I just think it should be an apprenticeship because you learn so much. Again, Tony, you're a plethora of information. I walk in a house with you, you're pointing out everything. You walk in the house with some
But
newer folks.
is he wearing that yellow gold sport coat from
No,
Century?
no,
No,
You're not
he
wearing
burnt
that one?
that. He burnt that for
I
sure.
like that one.
Uncle Vito
That's
says
nasty, bro.
that Tony's got a lot of information.
Tony, definitely 2026, a spring is bringing. They say it's the year of the thaw. I don't know. After several years of frozen inventory, high interest rates. Okay, so now we've got more inventory on the market. We've got interest rates that have been trickling down. Again, Becky mentioned earlier, definitely not in the 7s anymore.
No.
Maybe in the low 6s, high 5s, whatever you want, again, based on credit, loan to value. It's so important, though, Tony, when you walk in a house, you even understand, as we got Kevin in here talking about fixing a house up really nice. But you got to understand what the high-end finishes are and where the value lies. You're pointing those things out. I don't know how many people think that laminate is a hardwood floor. It's not.
It's not.
It's not.
But they call it
But
that.
understand what it is.
What, that
Well, and
vinyl?
that's where I go with investors and flippers. Why I say partner and be best friends with the realtor, especially one with experience like Tony, is he's probably going to solve a lot of your problems and see things that you don't see. When we first started walking together, he walked in and said, "You see that over there in that room?" I'm like, I don't know. No, Tony, what? I don't know.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
A
Well,
water
it's
stain in the
He goes,
corner.
it's
A water stain in the corner, right, Tom?
It's a fogged window, right?
Fogged
the
window.
seal had broken.
I remember it. The landscaping, no mulch, the fogged window. And I looked at him and I'm like, it's about $1,300. He says, I'm not spending another nickel. I'm like, it was his 7th flip. Dude, it was on Leroy Street in Grosse Pointe. I'll never forget it. He pulled me over in my smart car because he thought I was some hot chick, but I had tinted windows, and he rolled it down. He saw this fat guy in the window. And he ended up at my house Thanksgiving that year, having dinner for Thanksgiving. And we became best friends ever since. But when he listened to me, we went from $185,000 price to $217,000. He spent $1,300. It's the perception that someone sees. But when people are buying homes today, the retail person, they don't have the extra money. They don't have the extra money to put into a roof, into this, into that. They want it done. They want a payment. And who was the $99 down, $99 a month? Come on down, folks. Point Dodge, the old commercial. It's really what it is. It's just a payment.
Yeah, but I think what agents like you do for your clients, which is super valuable, is that
or the tall top agents, Kev. Let's go there. All the top agents.
I work with a ton of them, and the reason why they're so good is because they save their clients from wasting money on an inspection for $400, $500, $600, $700 when they can point out the very obvious things that a first-time home buyer or a second-time home buyer just doesn't know.
I think they're in awe when they look at, wow, look at that floor. And they don't realize that the only thing that this guy did, you look at the old listing pictures and new listing pictures, wait, he painted and put laminate flooring down, and you think it's hardwood, and he redid the whole house, and he wants $150,000 more 6 months later. It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't add up that way.
The average buyer, though, is not walking in and looking at the age of the furnace, the age of the AC,
Right. Yeah.
what age is the hot water tank, to where an agent like you are.
Or the
saying,
walls
hey,
of the basement.
Let's
go look at the important stuff downstairs.
I don't even know
Yeah.
if we go and do you guys really want to spend money on an inspection. I can tell you right now, there's about $30,000 that we got to put in this house, and they're like, we don't got it. Let's go to the next one.
Right.
I know some buyers that are on their 5th home inspection, and they're $2,000 out in home inspection.
But they don't realize that they saved money spending the $2,000 on home inspections.
Yeah.
That saved them. What was that show? There was a movie called...
The Big Short? Which one are you going with?
No, The Big Short was great. Oh, no. It was,
The Money Pit.
The Money Pit.
Money Pit.
The Money
Yeah,
Pit.
yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, the
and it
Money
was
Pit.
like, it's a continual boom, ba-boom,
Yeah.
ba-boom,
Yeah.
like with a sledgehammer.
All right, increased leverage for you buyers out there. We'll talk about that when we come back. 2026, if it's your time to buy a house, be sure to give us a call. Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. And keep it here. It's 843 all across Southeast Michigan. The Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. We'll be right back. Right, we're back here live, 846. Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show in our 26th year. We'll take your calls. We got another 14 minutes ago before the sports legends come in. Of course, Kenny Cott and Mike Stone, they're going to be doing a whole sports bid here. And the Wings took it on the chin last night. That's okay. They'll come back and get playoff season coming up.
Big acquisition, though.
Oh, yeah, I went to the game the other night, 3 nights ago. Yeah, they were doing good until the third period.
And I'm pumped up. We got baseball
game,
right around the corner, so I'm always excited for some baseball here. Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket. Sports all day long after we hook you up with the best real estate and mortgage information possible. Of course, Kevin McLellan joins us for Cash for Homes. Kevin and, of course, Tony Raffin from RE/MAX First. Tony's been around forever. We can just talk your ears off. And, again, all these different stories are really fun. And, we talk about Kevin's first house and the one he was going to buy, and he didn't understand that, look, I got to put more money into this house to get top dollar for it. But, Kev, we were starting to talk about it. Walking into these houses, you have to know what you're looking at. A tile backsplash, that's that cheap one that every single person put in, I think in 1999. God, I see so many of those, and thank God my brother, I think, just ripped his out and put a new backsplash in.
Well, things
make things nicer.
Yeah, trends come and go, fads, come and go. So, the green walls are coming back.
Yeah, the green's back.
I tear up some tiles from 1930, and now they're back in style.
You can have the green and orange.
He's got a warehouse full of stuff. Yeah. He knows what his palette is. It's literally...
Well, as a flipper and investor, any advice I can give anybody out there is that you got to keep it a bit vanilla. I mean, if you start going too niche in the things you're doing and customizing a lot, you may limit your buyer pool. Yep. So I admit, a lot of my houses look very similar. It's cost effective. My guys know what we're doing.
But they're not next door to each other.
That's correct. I always say you can only buy one of my houses at one time.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
The next door neighbors might look the same, but you might not know that. But you try to keep it a bit vanilla. The buyers always want to come in and add their little bit of touch, right? Mm-hmm. They can repaint some of the walls. They can repaint the island. They can change out some light fixtures. They always do that. It's pretty cool that I've got to go back and through some of my flips. I become friends with a lot of the buyers. Sure. I sell some to a lot of my friends, and I get to see it staged with their furniture and everything like that, so it's real cool.
Yeah, I like what you've done. Just the homes are incredible. We talk about a little bit of leverage right now. You finally can ask for some things, but that winter little window we had of opportunity, Becky, the warm weather says that could come to an end where, hey, we're moving the clocks forward tonight. That could signify the end of this buyer, opportunity. Maybe there's another 3 or 4 weeks. Tony said it was cold in January, but now things are starting to heat up.
It's been busy since the first of the year for me.
Okay.
You can feel that energy around everything, and especially with the talk of the interest rates, like we talked about. Like as soon as there's even talk about a mortgage interest rate, trickling down, there's activity there, whether it's refinancing or purchases. But it takes a minute, right? Everything is like 30, 60, 90 days behind for the real estate agent, right? So we get to talk to them first, and then you start seeing all the activity, right? So whereas like Tony was mentioning, he's got 10 under contract just this week. Well, those people were pre-approved. At least they could have been a couple years ago, 30 days ago, 60 days ago. It just depends on when they were actually getting active again. And I feel like there's been a switch where anyone that was snoozing, they are back awake, and there was some opportunity where you can get concessions. There's a lot of concessions on some of these properties that I have under contract right now. But if you are trying to become a homeowner in 2026, you need to throw your hat in the ring. You have to have the conversation as soon as possible, because this is going to be a very competitive market, in my opinion. And if you are falling in love with the house first and then submitting your financials, you are going to lose out.
Yeah. So I had one of those actually.
Hey, Harvey, the thing is about interest rates, when people read about it in the paper or hear about it on the radio or TV,
you're already late.
They've already gone up. You're already late on that. So when we make our calls, we call our clients 2-3 weeks ago, and we say there might be an opportunity that we can consolidate your debt. We can go ahead and get you a lower rate. And then all of a sudden this week, there are events in the world that happen, and look what happens to the markets. The markets will go haywire, and rates start going back up. Mm-hmm. So you're never gonna buy it at the lowest possible thing unless you're Chris, who got a rate of 2.5, and I think the lowest they ever were 2.25. I did a few at 2.25. Mm-hmm. Becky said it was fantasy land. Doesn't happen. So when you get that call, when you already read about it, see it, hear about it, it's already too late.
That was a once in a lifetime moment that I hope we don't repeat as far as because what was going on in the world. But if you read about it in the paper, it's past tense.
Yeah,
it is
it's already history. So.
Who reads the paper?
I mean, people.
I do.
I was gonna say, who
I read
listens to the
paper.
radio? People listen to the radio.
Dude,
Yeah.
I read 2 or 3 papers, real papers. Like I hold it because I'm old.
Paper, yeah,
Because I'm old. I
newspapers
like
and
touching it.
radios.
Look, I have paper, everybody.
Becky, I'm glad you brought it up because, yeah, sure enough, one of my agents called me up that I work with, and she said, "Would you hurry up and call this lady again?" I'm like, "We spoke to her last year," and sure enough, I checked the email. The same documents I asked for, I just had updated and asked for the 2025 W-2 along with the same documents. I had the link to take the MSHDA class, the Fannie Mae class or the Freddie Mac class you can take for free online that can be used for several down payment assistance programs. There's 3 that we typically use, the MSHDA program, Michigan State Housing Development Authority, National Faith is a great program, and the Chinoa program. Again, these all fit different categories and needs, but if you don't have any money and you're calling your agent up to look at a $300,000 house, a little confusing to me, and sure enough, rushed, sent the email on Monday, crickets all week long. So you got to get serious about it. If you want to continue renting, that's your choice. Nothing wrong with it.
I mean, timing is everything. And, you can have a buyer that's hot to trot and then they can back off, but you're only really putting yourself at a disservice because our job is to make sure that you are set up for success. You know what you're doing 5 minutes, 5 months, 5 years down the road. It's not about just that short-term win of the right now. We want to know, okay, can you afford this house in 5 more months and 5 more years? And, there's a reason why there's more down payment assistance in the history of ever because they don't want all the investors coming in to gobble up the properties. And now we have, like a New York City, for example, where and you can't afford it because there is no mandate on rent. You can make someone pay as high as you want. Go ahead, yeah.
Hey, Becky, 2 questions for you that I don't know the answer to, actually.
Yeah.
How long is a pre-approval good for? And what is the lowest possible credit score that you need to have to own and be a homeowner?
Okay, so a pre-approval is good for as long as the credit report is good, which usually gets 120 days.
Oh, wow. Longer than I thought.
Yeah, so a lot of things can happen in 120 days. Obviously people can buy things and sell things, and your credit score is, dependent upon that, but we do not look to pull your credit unnecessarily, but 120 days is as long as it takes. And your minimum credit score, so it's typically a 580. That would be FHA financing, but recently conventional has done away with the minimum credit score. So for conventional, it used to be a 620.
Okay.
So you can have no credit scores and actually qualify for a conventional loan as long as you don't have credit scores. There's a difference between not having, you don't have credit scores anymore because you had it and you mismanaged it and then now you're not reporting, but you have a bunch of collections, right? And there's a difference between just you never started it. You're younger and you're kind of get into it. But a lot of those times it's better if you're with someone that has a higher credit score. So someone that maybe has a 700 and someone that doesn't have credit scores, you now can actually qualify for a mortgage, and the state of Michigan will allow you to move forward on something like that. And one other thing about National Faith, that's another down payment assistance that is specific in Wayne County. It is life-changing money. It is forgivable. That is a income restriction, so we have to know what your income limits are. But, for example, the city of Lincoln Park, you can get $14,999 to go towards your down payment, your closing costs, and change your life. So someone that doesn't think that they can afford home ownership because maybe you're renting and your rent is so high that you did not have the ability to practice savings, this is that jump start that's going to allow you to get to that point where you wouldn't otherwise maybe be able to come up with that savings.
Becky, low 600 credit scores might even get you into that house. So we'll talk a little bit about credit, of course, how important it is. Again, if you're going to be refinancing your house now or thinking about purchasing a new home.
Well, credit dictates what the rate is going to be. Everything is rate based. Okay, so ready? You want that great rate? You better have great credit.
Yeah, I think
if you don't have great credit, if you have good credit, you'll get a good rate. If you have bad credit, your rate is not going to be 6.25. It's just not going to be.
The point is the programs that you guys have. I think more people could qualify and own a home that don't realize it until they call you guys. That's
it is you have to kind of when we have these initial conversations, it's like an intake, and then instantly, for example, my brain, I'm instantly pulling this thing apart to put it back together to identify what is the best vehicle that's going to get you there. And then I'm talking to somebody else, and they're in a completely different vehicle to get them where they're going, right? It is customized individual experiences that each of our clients are getting because, you can be vanilla on the interior when you guys are, flipping a house, but we cannot be vanilla as the lender because every situation and everyone's credit portfolio is completely different. Completely different.
All right,
so I have a friend of mine. Go ahead. Go with the phone number.
I was just going to 248-539-9797 or call us at Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker.
So a friend of mine, longtime friend, guy I used to play softball with, longtime client, got him many homes in there. He just texted me. He says, hey, You got me a great rate. You got me 3 1/8. I go 3 1/8, man. You had a great mortgage guy.
Like, who's that guy?
Yeah, you had 3 1/8. And by the way, he could hit a softball. So Danny, if you're listening, I know you could hit a softball out. And he's a grandparent now, and life moves on.
Hey, you guys, it's one of those shows where we could go another 2 or 3 hours.
These guys
but-
are unbelievable. The way
This
they
was a
know a lot of
masterclass.
stuff. Yeah. They're great.
All right, the sports guys are up next. We got Tony Raffin here. Tony, always thanks for coming in. We'll get you back in, of course, talk
Thank you.
about what's going on all in 2026. Kevin McLellan, Cash for Homes, Kevin. Check them out. All right, we see the guys are coming in. Keep it here on 97.1 The
Mike
Ticket.
Stone, the legend, everybody.
Here he is.
We'll see you next Saturday.